I've been looking a lot on YouTube recently to try and find a decent build for a Warlock Sunsinger post-patch, and there's nothing on there. So I figured I'll make one. So I spent a bit of time playing with my Warlock, but not in a gay way, of course, in a productive way to find a good build. And I think I have actually found something that really works well. So I'm going to share it with you. Okay, so onto my setup. What I tend to use is Radiant Skin. I find this better than self-res, mainly because you take more damage and it lasts a bit longer. So it seems to work better for me. For the grenade I use a fusion grenade. This is mainly because it sticks to people. Now this is the main part of the build. The grenades stick to them and burn them and mess them up, which is what it's all about. This build is all about sticky grenades. For focus burst, I mean this is a must for warlocks. I'm not going to say any more than that. And for the Scorch, for me, they're all pretty good, but I tend to use Flame Shield because it gives you an overshield and stops the incoming damage for a short time, which I think is quite good. Okay, for these two sections here, what you want to do is max out on armor and recovery. Armor, no brainer. Recovery, mainly because agility is not required at all on this build, or any Warlock build, to be fair. With the Warlock Skate and Glide, you literally do not need anything other than armor and recovery. So max out that bit. So looking at these two sections here, for me it has to be Viking Funeral and it has to be Touch of Flame. With Touch of Flame, obviously it ignites your enemies, causing damage over time, and in this current meta, damage over time really does hurt people. So if you twin that with Viking Funeral, where basically it stacks and it causes more damage, this is where the build really helps. So you've got fusion grenades which you can chuck and stick to people. If they don't stick and they burn them out, or you punch them with your Scorch, then the damage over time is what's going to help you to succeed and for this build to be successful. So that's why I've gone with it anyway. Okay, for the exotic piece I use for armor, Starfire Protocol, extra fusion grenades, so there's an extra grenade to stick to someone. Everything else doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. I mean, I tend to use gauntlets reloaders for the weapon I use, as I'm sure you all do. For the boots, I've got on respawn movement speeds increase, which is helpful. And for the artifact, I use the Gallium, which gives you third eye, basically, which I think is really helpful. I like third eye. And that is pretty much it. So talking about the guns, so I'm going to be using a few different guns for this one. This is probably the closest I've got to a god roll on an Isoluna. Hidden Hand and Rifle Barrel is fantastic perks. Exhume, not so much. Sure Shot is definitely a good sight. So that's a good hand cannon I got there. Okay, so the second hand cannon I'm going to be using today is an Ill Will. Not necessarily the best archetype, I admit that, but it's got a fantastic roll. Luck in the Chamber, best probably top tier perk on a hand cannon right now. Brace Frame, yes, not a range perk, but reduced magazine size, which will help with Luck in the Chamber. Rangefinder, probably one of, again, top tier perks now required. And Sure Shot, which is probably the best sight for target acquisition. So this is going to be beast. So what's good about this build then? We'll start with some of the gameplay. So you're going to see a lot of Isoluna and then followed by Ill Will action. So that's going to be going on in the background. So the first gun needs no introduction, and I'm not going to even bother because there's thousands of videos about this gun, the Isoluna. I've got a decent roll, I've got Hidden Hand, I've got Rifle Barrel. I've got two of these guns. I've got one with Rangefinder and this one I'm using with Hidden Hand. And I much prefer Hidden Hand. I feel that I win way more gunfights because, as you know, it's a free tap kill on the average, one headshot, two bodies. Hidden Hand is much easier to get the first headshot, and then you can finish up with a couple of taps to the chest or body or legs or whatever to finish them off. So I think Hidden Hand is still a really good perk as long as you've got Rifle Barrel or Reinforced Barrel, which I have. And also, like I said, we're talking about Hidden Hand, but I've also got Sure Shot, which is ideal for, again, target acquisition. I want to talk about what's good about the build overall. So where do we start? So let's start with fusion grenades. Stick it to someone, they're dead. It doesn't matter if you stick it to their bollocks, their face, their knee. You hit them, they're dead. So that's a great advantage. So if you can hit them and run basically. So that's obviously a good start. So The melee, the scorch melee. So you whack them with your melee, gives you an overshield straight away. That is so helpful. If you're being shot at and you're in a one-on-one, you can blast them a couple of times, whack them with your melee, and that is enough to keep you alive. When you strike them with your melee, it ignites them and they can burn out. So if they're low life, you can whack them and run off and they'll burn out. So fusion grenade, fantastic stick-on grenade. Your melee, you whack them one, you get your overshield. So that's two pretty awesome sides to this build. But also, one of the main things really is overall it's really balanced. It can give you a really high armor and recovery. Agility is not needed anyway, as I'd said before. So the armor and recovery is very high. So you'll notice that after a gunfight, you'll get damaged and almost immediately your life will start to regenerate. And that again, when you're in a game of sixes or even in trials, you know, you've had a gunfight, you may have taken someone down, but what tends to happen with a lot of the other subclasses is before your health starts to regen, you're getting shot at again, and it normally ends up in death. But with this one, it's fantastic because almost immediately it starts to come back. I guess we should talk about Viking Funeral and Touch of Flame. So, as I said before, Touch of Flame, they ignite and they start to burn. Viking Funeral, this stacks, so the damage is increased. So they'll take way more burn damage after being set on fire. In this current meta, for some reason, I've noticed that damage over time is way more of a factor than it ever used to be. So this build does utilize that quite well. Like I said, it feels really balanced, great grenades, great melee, really high armor, really high recovery, and the ability to take advantage of the burnout situation. So that's the build. Okay, so now we're looking at the Ill Will. I'm going to do a review on this now because it's a really good gun. I've got a good roll. Straight away you'll see that guy's life pretty much disappear with one shot, and that is down to luck in the chamber. So this gun, this roll, I've got luck in the chamber, which basically gives one of the bullets in the magazine extra damage. Really, really helpful in many of occasions. You can two-tap people with luck in the chamber. So again, that's the first side of it. So what I've also got on this gun is brace frame. So brace frame is obviously a stability perk. So you're probably wondering, why are you happy to have a stability perk? And the answer to that is because it reduces the magazine size. So you get increased stability, reduced magazine size. So that synergizes with luck in the chamber. So I've got far more chance of luck in the chamber actually dropping because the magazine size is reduced by brace frame. So next, I've got rangefinder. So this is a top tier perk, and everyone who uses the hand cannon will, I'm sure, agree with me. And then finally, what I've got, the sight, sure shot. I would say it's probably one of the best, if not the best sight for a hand cannon. It pretty much boosts all the stats as well as the important stat, which is target acquisition. This gun has a pretty slow reload speed, but on using it I didn't actually think it was that bad. I mean, I had on some hand cannon reloaded gauntlets, which really helped, so I didn't really find that an issue. Normally the stability is pretty terrible, it kicks up really high, therefore difficult to control, but with brace frame the gun reset itself really quick, so it wasn't an issue at all. The stability has been pretty much put in a place where it is very usable. I know this archetype is not probably where it needs to be right now to be competitive, but if you get a good roll, it can definitely be usable. If you get a shit roll, then don't even bother wasting your time.